Hi there, I'm Dan Hollifield. Welcome to Last Man Standing. And damn, don't I write some good music? I hope you enjoy the theme stuff because it took me an entire day to write that. So I had fun. Now, let's see. We've been going on for 2 minutes and 30 seconds with just the credits rolling. It's time to bring in Bill and Stephanie. And this is going to be, I guess, the full house unless Joe Dog pops in, but I don't think so. He's probably tired after doing two entire shows. And glad to have you with us, Stephanie, even though you've done two whole shows. Yep. And the infamous Stan Lee.
Yeah, and I know the Spidey hood is a little too big for him, but oh well.
Bill, can you move over to one side? Because you're.
Yeah, the edge of the screen is right on your nose.
There you go. There you go.
Now you're full screen.
Well, I was centered up until it just became the three of us, unless Dan readjusts the screen or something.
Well, it goes on stupid o'clock. It's landscape, and on this one it's portrait.
Well, if we had two more people, we'd go back to landscape. But
okay.
Yep, that's all.
Is there a way to do three people that's more gives you more landscape?
I could do this, but then we're all postage stamps. I kind of prefer the split screen like this, just because having to watch the comments, it's really hard to see anybody's face with the teeny tiny little.
Well, nobody wants to see me. There, they can see Karen instead. It's just the way I have this set, which, oh, shoot, my tablet's about to come off.
I need to figure out why I always am darker and kind of grayer. Is that just that I have a lesser resolution camera?
It might be that, see, I've got two lights going with blue filters on them so that I don't look all pale as a ghost, but still bright.
I don't really have a way to do that.
Your light needs to be in front of you, Stephanie.
Well, not necessarily. I've got a ring light here around my camera, and when I turn it on, I can't see the screen because it's shining in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, mine, I have the little pivoting arm light here, but I got it pointed down and back that way, but it still shines on me like this.
Well, I've got mine. I've got one with a blue filter on it pointed up towards the ceiling, reflecting off of the white ceiling. And then I've got another one on a gooseneck lamp that's pointed back towards the green screen, but it still throws a little bit of light.
It's the sun.
And hey, Mike, Jimmy, how are you doing over there in Europe? Not being able to remember. Oh, there you're brighter.
Is that any better?
Oh yeah, you're not in full shade anymore. Like I said, I have a couple of these little blue soup bowls, and I put them over the lights as blue filters, and it gives me a more flesh tone rather than just the whiteness of the light. It has to do with the temperature of the lights. Oh yeah,
that's what I'm using.
Yep,
it's one of those emergency lantern things. Happen to be handy. That's the best I can do.
I hope it's rechargeable, so you don't have to buy batteries.
No, it's not, but that's all right.
Well, still, we can figure things out. There are a couple of people that have been doing streaming for a lot longer than me that haven't explored the possibility of using just a regular pair of LED bulbs and some really cheap blue filters to get the color correction correctly.
if I can get my den area, which this is kind of my workspace here. If I can get it set up the way I want, I'll have a table over here that I can set a lamp on.
Yeah.
And that will help. So
I should know better to move my tablet. Knock myself out of the show. Now I'm like too low. What the heck is this? Whoa.
It works. Motion sickness.
Man, oh man, I'm telling you.
Didn't know we were riding on the vomit comet tonight.
Stan Lee, save me.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's too late for supernatural intervention.
I'm telling you. It's too late for a lot of things.
Stephanie, I'm in the middle of the new book. Let's just say I'm excited for what I think might happen towards the end of it, and then again I'm going, no, I can't be that bright. I can't be figuring out one of Stephanie's plots this quickly. No. But what really threw me was the little bit at the end, at the beginning, before chapter 1. And I'm going, wait a minute. It just got to chapter. Well, what was this prequel bit here? The introduction.
I wrote a short story that was supposed to have been a crossover between Kate Polk's Vampire Con universe and my Division 1 universe.
Yes.
And when Tony proposed, my co-author for that particular book, proposed the idea for the plot, he was like, well, but would that even work in your universe? And I said, let me send you this short story I wrote, because the anthology fell through.
Yeah.
And so I sent it to him, and he was like, oh. He was like, well, okay then. And so we thought that maybe we should put the short story in the front of the book so that people would realize, yes, there is this sort of thing that goes on in this world, in this reality. So that's what that is. That's the short story crossover.
There is more to this universe than we were previously aware.
Yes.
And I have to say, I absolutely love it. I did not like what they did to Meg at the end of the short story, but I could see the necessity. And I could also see where Alex's guilt about keeping secrets might tie into the book that is actually following the short story rather than this book.
Well, if you pay attention, it does tie in several places to other books. So and that was very deliberate on my part. So.
So
Are you enjoying it?
Of course, you wrote it. Why wouldn't I enjoy it? Good grief! All my writer friends ask me, "Do you like it?" I'm going, "Well, yeah. You wrote it. Why wouldn't I like it?" Oh, but yeah, this is opening up, to coin a phrase, strange new worlds.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I don't know how close you were to being a long time between ideas for next books in the series, but this definitely opens a few more doors.
I have actually told Tony that, like I said, the concept was his. He originally he was asking permission to write fan fiction. And I said, sure. I said, what, just out of curiosity, what have you got in mind? So he told me the basic plot that he had in mind. And I was like, oh, no. This has got to be
It's not going to be fan fiction.
It's not
I
going to be
want
fan
in.
fiction. This is and so because I had just gotten done editing his first novel. We're trying to find a publisher for it right now.
Okay.
And so I knew he's a good writer, and I knew this would work. So I said, "Well, it's your idea. It's my series. How about we co-author?" And he said, "Okay."
Hey, it's
So
working so far, and
yeah,
I'm loving it. I am loving it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all our two viewers, I would like to announce that we have the world famous Ryan Permison in the backstage fixing to come on right now.
Hello there. How are you?
Hi, Ryan.
hey Ryan.
Yeah, I know. It's over an hour past my bedtime, and apparently I'm still one of the last men standing, so this is kind of interesting.
Hey, well, this is pretty much what we're here for. Now it's better on Saturday nights because I don't have to go to work the next morning,
Whew,
and I can stay up way late unless I nod off in the middle of a show again. I have had to delete one show because hour and a half into it, I nodded off and nobody knew how to wake me up. And the only other person with ops for my show was not in the show. And nobody thought wake him up and get him to turn the thing off.
Really? Wow.
So I wound up having a 6 or 8 hour show with all but 90 minutes of it being me asleep in the chair.
Wow. Goodness gracious.
I deleted that one. I'm sorry. It was a perfectly entertaining. I did record it so that I could re-edit it sometime when I'm feeling really.
I think Carl got the screenshot of you, though.
Oh, I'm sure Carl did. Probably about one every 30 minutes.
If there's anything we know,
that
Carl
went
Witzman
to the Smithsonian there.
Yeah, if there's anything we know Carl Witzman to be good at, it's grabbing screenshots of random people on random shows, such as mine.
No, he usually concentrates on just trying to find Keisha with a strange expression on her face. He's got an entire wall of photographs of Keisha with strange expressions on her face.
I'm sure he does, which, by the way, I hope we see that sure come to fruition at some point, Carl, or maybe Keisha could put this together where it says Keisha be driving me crazy. So
yeah.
I'm still waiting on somebody to get antsy and go ahead and do the Phil lyrics.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, I've got too much to do. Otherwise, I'd be wanting to do it myself. But I've got like 5 books I need to finish, so I can't take time out.
Wow, 5 books. That's a handful.
Well, I've got one that I'm this close. It's right on into the last chapter, and I've only got a few thousand words to wind it up and make it blend into the book this is a prequel for. And then I've got another one that has been on the back burner for about 6 months, and it's a total departure for me. It's not science fiction, it's fantasy.
Oh, fantasy, yeah.
And then I am under contract to write another book of my Spaceport Bar stories. And then I have to edit an anthology of other people's Spaceport Bar stories set in my universe. Plus, I've got another fantasy novel in the works that's been sitting in the back burner for years and years, and I've got 2 different steampunk stories. One of which I've written the second half, and now I'm working on the first half because I work backwards. That makes it easy for me to drop in foreshadowing this stuff if I develop the characters in the action part. And then go back and explain how they got to where the second part starts.
Wow. And Chris said, don't forget your webzine.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you, Chris.
Which I've subscribed to recently.
Nice.
There aren't any subscriptions. You just go to the website and read. I mean, there's no...
Never mind. Reverse that.
Dan, you're not supposed to say that.
No. It's not supposed to make me any money. It's a permanent floating writer's workshop is what it is.
A website.
Yeah. For the last 25 years.
Which is amazing, by the way.
I have been publishing this thing, and what it's for is for new writers to come in, get feedback about their work, learn the rules, how to edit, how to submit stuff to a paying publisher, to pay attention to the submissions guidelines for each different publisher. And so far, we've had over 400 writers turn pro in the last 25 years.
Well, congratulations.
500.
That's amazing.
Well, this is my reward, is all these people that we've gotten to know and love their stories send us an email going, I'm getting paid now. I'm sorry I can't send you anything else. And then I get to go out and buy their books.
Well, there you go. You know what they say, a rising tide lifts all ships.
Well, I've been doing it for 25 years before Brian got the idea. So,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, there's no ads, there's no fees for the writers to submit stuff. There's no fees for the readers to read stuff. Okay. Yeah, it's not supposed to make me money.
I'm gonna have to pay a visit to this site.
Granted, I do get to put my stuff on there without supervision, but then when I turn around and rewrite it and submit it to somebody else, it does get edited, because, as I am famous for saying, everybody needs an editor. Even editors need editors. Nobody gets it right by themselves. You've got to have first readers. You've got to have somebody to do line edits and whatnot, and point out all the places where you thought you explained everything, but no, it was all in your head. You didn't actually type that part. Am I right, Stephanie?
Oh, yeah. And everybody does that.
Yeah.
So
you know what the story is supposed to be. The trick is, write all of it, not just the edited highlights.
Good point.
Well, thank you, Chris. I wasn't going to say anything. It doesn't occur to me that this is anything special, because I've been doing it for so long. It's just one of the things that I do. I don't brag about my albums, although I should, because one of them is for a series that Stephanie wrote. And
you should brag on all your albums.
Well, yeah, I'd like to.
I've officially listened to all of them on Bandcamp now, and
oh, wow.
I did not. Yeah. Oh, what do you think I do when I draw? I'm usually listening to music, and I thought, why am I not listening to Dan's music? Because you can listen to it for free while you're on that site.
Mm-hmm.
But
they do ask you to buy something after you've listened to 4 or 5 songs, but
right,
you don't have to.
Yeah, and you know, I bought the one song of yours, 10,000 Watt Tango.
Yeah,
and which that was, I think, the first time I ever went on Bandcamp. But I have a quandary here. Maybe all of you. Okay, so Ryan mentioned rising tide lifts all ships.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Brian K. Morris thing. I can't help it.
Right, I know, but initially it's based off of a JFK quote.
Yes,
but that's not the actual quote.
Right.
The actual quote is, "The rising tide lifts all boats."
Yes, I do remember reading that.
And I'm wondering where it. Now, I think, there's what they call it, paraphrasing, or people's versions of it, or whatever.
Alternate versions of a phrase.
I think Brian probably just remembered it worded differently from the original.
Right.
Rather than research it.
And I'd seen the first time I saw it with the correct quote, I thought, oh, that ain't right. What is this from? And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And there it is again, and there it is again, and there it is again. But then I did start seeing a couple of them that did say rising tide lifts all ships.
Well,
there raises all ships.
There is an apocryphal story that JFK was giving a speech in Berlin, and he said in German, meaning to say that he was a Berliner, And what he actually said was, "I am a jelly donut."
Yeah, I remember that.
That may be something somebody made up. I don't know. I don't speak German, although I do use Google
Only in Camelot.
Translate. Uh,
Only in Camelot. Mm-hmm.
it is a silly place.
Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I think either quote obviously refers to the same thing and it's the same meaning. It's just that it shocked me when I saw the actual quote.
Yeah. By the way,
Hey,
Mike said hi to me. Hi, Mike. Good to see you too.
It might have somewhat to do with the there are no boats in the Navy. There are only ships, except that Kennedy served on a PT boat.
Sure.
Right. Exactly.
It's too bad they didn't wait till 1985 because otherwise they could. Or no, is it 89 or 85? No, 85, where he says, "Where we're going, we don't need roads." You could have dropped the roads line in there somewhere. I don't know where it would have been appropriate, but I'm just speculating.
And people on submarines don't call their boats ships.
True.
Yeah, you're right.
The things you learn by watching old movies from World War II and reading the books that the movies were made from. Run Silent, Run Deep is an excellent book. Let me tell you, I don't care how good the movie is, even though it's great.
Really?
The book is fantastic.
I read that.
And
I still got to pick up
things to read.
Yeah.
The long list.
Well, one book I want to get, and since Ryan said a long list to read, at Walmart, they have a collected version of H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu stories in a soft leather bound edition for $9.97. And I will be picking that up.
It will be well worth the money. I don't care how many and what selection of stories that are in it.
I mean,
if you're a fan of existential, extra universal horror, Lovecraft is one of the better ones. Now, the fellow did have some cultural difficulties, but if you're able to forgive him for that, because he was a product of his time, and that's not any
aren't we all?
But
I mean, you guys are so young and I'm so old, so it's like, geez, how do you compute with this?
I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now.
I know. It's not the years. It's not the years.
Okay,
honey,
Roger.
the mileage.
Oh yeah, naturally would get the song quote.
I actually posted that quote on my Facebook one time, and
really,
about 5 or 6 people commented on it that I knew did not get. It just went zoom right over their head.
Well, it just goes like Drax the Destroyer. Everything goes over his head. There you go.
Nothing.
Sorry, that's a Marvel character.
I would catch it.
Yeah,
we know Drax.
And I'm going to catch it, but whatever.
Yeah. Now, Ryan, I personally own something on the order of 10,000 paperback books and about 1,000 hardback books.
That's a plethora right there.
That is a plethora.
As my good friend El Guapo would say, that is a plethora, jefe. Yeah.
But remember, I've been collecting them since I was about 4.
Really? Wow.
So 60 years worth of buying books.
That's a lot of history. That's longer than Star Wars. Jeez.
What was your first book?
It's longer than watching the extended edition of The Lord of the Rings.
Thank
about
you.
30 minutes.
No.
Is it longer than Gone with the Wind?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I saw that in the theater. I was like, man, the hype for this movie, it's just, no. Honestly, Gone with the Wind is one of the most depressing films in 3.5 hours of my life I'm never going to get back.
Well, at the time.
Oh, I loved it.
At the time.
I mean, look, there's some good acting in there, but as far as rewatchability and like overall the movie, I'm like, dude, this film is depressing. Like, I'm sorry, but there's like there's barely any happiness in this thing.
Well, why would there be? It's about war.
Well, yeah, but I know, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you can find happiness in the midst of, darkness times. I'm just saying, like, there's moments of levity, but they're few and far between. And then when he turns to her at the end, and the frankly, my whole dear, I don't give a damn thing. It's like, dude, this girl's like, man, she got thrown to the curb.
Well, did not the same thing happen in Casablanca?
Well, yes, but that had
The
a much
famous
better
airport scene. So there you go.
But
always have
in my opinion, Casablanca was a much tighter film and a better made film in my eyes than Gone with the Wind.
Well, look at the difference between the two directors.
Well, yeah, that's true. There's two different people making the film, so yeah, there's a bit of a turn off there. But still, I digress. I mean, if you don't get on that plane, you're gonna regret it for the rest of your life. We all wish have Paris. I mean, just bless that film's heart. And it turns 80 this year, and we're definitely going to be celebrating the greatness that is Casablanca.
I definitely will.
I love that movie. I love that movie so much. I'm trying to remember
whether or not I think I might have a colorized version on VHS.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I like to see the colored version of that film.
Holy shades of Ted Turner, Batman.
I know, exactly. I'd like to see the colored version of
I
Casablanca.
really like the black and white, but
Same here.
And I since we don't have a functioning VHS player in the house, I
find one on eBay.
I really need to get the DVD.
Let's do this the right way. Holy shades of Ted Turner, Batman. There you go.
I see what you did there, Burt Ward. Yeah, no, Going with the Wind, I'm like, no. But hey, listen, the two films that came out during that time, if I remember correctly, I would take Wizard of Oz over Gone with the Wind any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
I'll agree with you there. They
both came out in the same year, 1939, but it's like, geez, Wizard of Oz is better than this. I'm sorry, but it's the truth, at least in my eyes.
Well,
but you're talking about two different genres.
I know.
That's the same way with Casablanca. Casablanca is film noir.
I know.
There's an element of war in it, but I guess the Maltese Falcon would be more closely associated with Gone with the Wind than Casablanca would be.
That's another one of my favorite bogey films. What is it? It's the Stuff That Dreams are made of. Such a great ending. Such a great ending to Maltese Falcon. Love that film.
I often wonder about the character of Dorian Maldivar and how much that the writer of the script based it on Sidney Greenstreet from Maltese Falcon.
Oh, yeah. Excellent, sir. Excellent. Man, those actors, so good. So good.
Well,
Peter Lorre, he was hilarious.
Oh, yes. And
Peter Lorre was great. Ingrid Bergman, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to watch more of her filmography. She is a fantastic actress. Gosh. Oh, no, I have watched more of her filmography. I watched Hitchcock's film, Notorious, with her and Cary Grant. That's a great one. Great Hitchcock film.
Are you a fan of Eddie G. Robinson, Ryan?
Can you name off a little bit of the filmography of this person? Because I think I know
Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about gangster-style movies.
Yeah.
One I would suggest to watch that's very much different as far as a movie that involves gangsters is a movie he did called Brother Orchid. And I'll say no more about it because I don't want to give anything away. But it's excellent. It's an excellent movie, and it shows Edward G. Robinson it starts out with him kind of playing the type of characters that he normally does, but it ends up going into a completely different direction, and it is brilliant. But Brother Orchid,
5 mile long list.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, believe me, we could name off books and movies and stuff that you will have to make a list to be able to look up, and probably the movies you would be familiar with, but
yeah, I'm starting to, I've watched some of the classic film, the golden age of the 20s, 30s, 40s, all that stuff. Like, I'm starting to learn more and more as I go along. But yeah, I have a bunch of them on Blu-ray, including Casablanca, Notorious, Kiss Me Deadly. I've seen that. Hitchcock films, I've seen a bunch of his, not all of them, but I have a 5 set of Hitchcock's works. My favorite one is Rear Window. That was a good one.
If ever an actor was miscast, it is Edward G. Robinson in the Ten Commandments.
Wait a minute, is this Cecil B. DeMille's Ten Commandments?
Yes,
It would be, yeah.
Because I have seen that.
he plays Dathan. He
Okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't ring a bell, but
I know I've seen it, but I don't remember it. I was
he's
that young.
the Jewish overseer
Mhm.
who winds up taking the girl as a slave
Oh,
that
okay. Okay.
Joshua wants.
Sure. I think I'm starting to remember this. I don't know. I got to go
Yeah.
back and see the particular scenes and the particular actors and actresses you're mentioning, because right now the only thing I'm thinking of is when Charlton Heston just keeps saying the same thing over and over again. Let my people go, and then he divides the Red Sea, and then everyone escapes. So it's like.
All right, let me see if I can find a picture of.
I watched that on a big screen for the first. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of it on TV, but I watched it in full. At my theater when they were replaying classic films. There it is. Oh, now I see it. Okay, thank you for bringing that up, Bill. I see the reference now.
Still, he played a much better Hebrew than John Wayne did a Mongolian.
Yeah.
He almost, I was going to say, he almost looks like a Mongolian or a Klingon or something.
Yeah.
Actually, he looks like a villain from the '66 Batman series.
Yeah, really.
He really does. Yeah.
No, that's another rabbit hole.
But I mean, his makeup and costuming can only do so much. He just didn't sound. He still had that gangster kind of speech.
Yeah, see, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so it kind of didn't work for me. It threw me
who
out
is this Moses?
I understand. I watched another classic film, and this film actually, unfortunately, I know it's two different films in two different time periods, but this film didn't really do it for me either, and that was the original Spartacus. Didn't really do it for me.
I love. I think it's no reflection on you, Ryan, but I think it's a matter of being old enough to appreciate it, because the first couple times I saw it, I was probably in high school still, maybe even junior high school, and I'm like, and I love Charlton Heston because of all the Planet of the Apes movies. Heavily into that. Oh, let's watch this Spartacus that he's in, and I just didn't get it. I'm like, okay, whatever, Romans, yeah, whatever, okay. But later on, when I hit whatever, I'm just guessing, probably maybe late 20s, early 30s. And then I started seeing it in a different light.
Gotcha.
And now when I see it, it's just, I really enjoy watching it, and I totally annoy the neighbors by saying, I am Spartacus. But which is another famous quote from my favorite Tom Hanks movie, That Thing You Do. But
one of my mom's favorite movies.
I love it.
She loves that film. I haven't seen it all the way through. I've only seen bits and pieces of That Thing You Do, but I am a Tom Hanks fan, so I should probably go back and watch it.
Well, I picked up the anniversary DVD of it. I saw it in the movie theater in 97 when it came out, 96, 97, whichever
96
year.
96 actually, but that was a good year.
96, yeah. Yep. And but I just all those guys, they kind of pulled a Monkees thing when they pulled them in there, because none of them knew how to play instruments or anything. They all learned. They learned the singing and that's all them. And it's wonderful. And in the anniversary version, they have a course special Here They Are Now type of segment. and even one segment where you watch the movie and listen to their commentary during the movie, which normally I don't like that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't care who you are. Okay, shut up, John Travolta. I'm trying to watch Saturday Night Fever, but they didn't ramble on the whole time through the whole movie, but they said a few things that actually was kind of pulling up some Easter eggs in the movie that you wouldn't have known about otherwise.
Well, I look, at some point or another, I look forward to watching it. Unfortunately, I will not be the last man standing tonight, but I am going to be the first one to take his leave. So I want to say thank you for having me. Oh. It was fun while it lasted. It's way past my bedtime. I need to get some shut-eye. But you guys are awesome. Do yourselves a favor. Stay awesome. You're so money, you don't even know it. And if you're looking for more great content with this guy's space or my friendly neighborhood nerd culture space, look us up. Simply add It's Nerd Culture. And make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Well, Ryan, I wished you didn't want to take your leave of your senses, but if you feel the need to, then by all means, that's fine by me. We all do what we got to do, but glad to have you.
Yeah, not everyone can stay up till 3 a.m. like some people we know, but take it easy, guys, and stay strong out there.
I feel like I ought to be saying, stay in school, don't do drugs.
Yeah.
I think Bill gave
and that's one to grow on.
That caffeine root beer, caffeinated root beer there. Now, Ryan has a definite presence, and he sure can talk, but he is very interesting, and I like listening. I have watched his show a few times and commented once or twice.
He's a good guy.
I'm afraid I'll never be on it because of that verbal slip I made mispronouncing his last name, but yeah, maybe he'll forgive me one day. I don't know.
But yes, he does have the presence of the Energizer Bunny. And I mean that in a good way because I like Ryan.
I do too.
Yeah,
I enjoy him.
If I don't like a person, I don't talk about him.
I don't know how long I'm going to be on here, guys. I have had one more heck of a day.
Yes, you have.
And
I was reading your Facebook post about everything you got accomplished today and all the. It made me tired just reading it.
Okay. Well, keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I got my husband's car, the cab part mostly cleaned out. It's an SUV, and the hatch part is just absolutely crammed with his magic equipment and stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The first thing I got to do is figure out where I'm going to put all that before I can unload it. But yeah, once I get everything out and do a little bit of cleaning on it myself, I'm looking for a detailer, and I'm going to have them do the inside really thoroughly and maybe wash and polish the outside, and then I'm going to sell it because I don't have a need for two cars.
Nope.
So
is it older or newer than yours?
It's older.
Okay.
And I just acquired mine back this past summer, so which mine is not new, but I really like it, so I don't care.
Oh, mine's a 2009 Pontiac. It is definitely not new. I just had to get a new headlight. I found out I got the automatic headlights that go on, and today normally I would shut them off during the daytime, but we had no sunlight today until the sun was setting, and it was quite beautiful. So I had to take a picture of that, put it on Facebook.
I saw that.
Even though the rest of the cornfield looked barren and cold and snow covered still.
I wish I had kept looking when we bought the one that we got for Lindsay, because it's a 2002 Buick LeSabre, and it's got the defective design in the alternator where if you don't drive it every day, the battery goes dead.
Oh boy.
Oh, lovely.
Because the voltage regulator, the little diodes and whatnot inside the alternator that act like a voltage regulator, they freeze up, and it's a parasitic drain on the battery. So if it sits for more than 24 hours without being driven, you've got to jump it off again. I've replaced the alternator. I've replaced the battery. It's in the design of the alternator for that year. And you cannot buy another alternator for love nor money that fits on the car by telling people what model car it is. You might be able to buy something for some other car and get a totally different design alternator, but they persist in using these inexpensive parts to rebuild the alternators, and they're all garbage. You get maybe a week on a brand new alternator before it starts doing the same thing as the old one, and the battery just starts draining out.
General Motors vehicles are a joy sometimes.
Well, and it's old enough to where I can actually work on it. I replaced the alternator in 15 minutes. It's no big deal. It's not like my van where you have to remove 3/4 of the front end of the car in order to get to something.
I'm wondering if you can't hook up some bypass switch or something on it when it's not in use.
I could, and it wouldn't be difficult for me to do, but it would not be pretty.
Well,
and my wife is kind of obsessive about things looking nice, being nice, and working correctly. So she's very, very frustrated with this car. And I wish that I had went ahead and hesitated just a little bit longer and had a rethink about it instead of buying it thinking, well, it's a good deal. Yeah, it was a good deal. If you don't drive it every day, you can't drive it. Period.
What do I hear that keeps dinging?
There are notices coming in about people that are messaging stupid o'clock.
That was Ryan just saying thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, okay. I was.
Well, I'm not
ding, and I'm like, that's not my phone. It's not my watch.
That means the popcorn is ready, Stephanie.
Evidently, it's my computer. I did not realize that going to Armchair Rocket Science would have Armchair Rocket Science sound bleed over into stupid o'clock because I'm wearing headphones. I don't have any speakers going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know how it happened, and it's never really been a problem before because I'd be watching I'd be watching what was the comic book show tonight? Comic Book Spectrum before a Thursday night show, or I'd be watching Jody McPhee's From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher before Saturday night shows, and the sound had never bled through before. So now I did get a couple of Windows updates today, so some stuff may have changed.
Yeah, don't you love
may.
that?
Sometimes when I've gotten an update for something here on my Samsung Galaxy Tab 7 tablet, then I got to go back and reset some of the settings on mine because it just pops them all back to default. And I hate that it does that.
Yeah. I'll have to check into that. Now I got an update on my my desktop yesterday, and it didn't take. So it
Wow.
tried to install the update, and then it took another 30 minutes to uninstall the update and go back to what it was before. And that happens with that Lenovo computer. It happens about twice a year, where a Windows update will come in and it will not be compatible with this operating this computer. Evidently, there's a hardware fault, or maybe it's the fact that I'm using a bucket load or a wheelbarrow full of USB external drives to extend the capacity of the desktop computer. And it is a couple of years old. So a couple of years, yeah, it's about 5 or 6 years old now. I should probably look into buying another desktop computer and seeing if I can get a shop to clone everything in there so that I don't lose any programs or have to reactivate programs after switching. Yeah. Reactivating something. I've got a copy of Office Suite that I got from a discount from work. And I am deathly afraid that if I try and reactivate that, I'm going to have to buy it all over again at full price rather than the discount that I got from work. So, that's, I don't know what I'd do without my Excel. Believe me, I've come to depend on that. I've got a copy of Open Office, where I could load everything that I've ever done in Excel, and Open Office would run it and save it as Excel or Open Office format files, and I wouldn't lose any functionality on anything. And if I had to give somebody a copy of an Excel version of the same file, it would save it for me, and it would be perfectly functional in anybody else's Excel or anybody else's Open Office. And Open Office is one of those freeware programs, so it's wonderful. What Stephanie?
I've used it. Open Office.
I even have a version on my iPad.
Cool.
I don't use it very often because the iPad screen is 5x7, basically. So it's not much use to me if you don't have an external keyboard like I do. The keyboard, the internal keyboard would take up half the screen. You'd get like, in a word processor, you get like 3, maybe 5 lines of text, and the rest of it's your keyboard. No, I do have this Bluetooth keyboard where I can use all I got to do is flip a switch, and I can use the same keyboard with the desktop, with the workstation that I use for streaming, and my iPad. At one time, before I had the workstation, I had it set up to where it'd be my desktop, my iPad, and my cell phone, which was fun.
Yeah, that's what I do with this one. This is Real Eagle, and now hopefully I won't carpal tunnel myself, since Laura got me these Belkin keyboard rests and mouse rest on there. I told her, I said, I don't use the keyboard that much. I said, I'm trying to get refamiliarize myself with it and the way I used to, but to do it with the tablet. And so, which I'm doing that, but I said, well, I just, other than that, I'm not using it a whole lot right now. And she said, yes. She said, but I would rather have you have it there and use it with the rest, and as opposed to what could happen if you don't. And she said, and being that you're an artist, you'll need your hands for that too. So I'm like, okay, I'll use it.
You did some illustrations for Cindy Cap, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I saw the posts about those. I think she was making the posts.
Was she?
Those were gorgeous, Bill. I mean, this is not your usual style, but it is definitely your work. Just looking at it, I could tell it was your work.
Well, it was simply because I don't know if I can pull any of them up.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Just accept the praise and move on.
Yeah, okay, so here's like what Cindy said when she came to me about commissioning me for this. She said, I got some books out that have characters in it that's never been illustrated before. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about them? And she said, I can do better than that. She says, I'll send you all the pages that have the key references to each of the characteristics of it. So,
I love it when that happens.
Oh, well, I mean, at the time when she said she would do that, I thought, okay, well, that's great. Then I'll just read it and go with that. Boy, it's like being the crime scene investigator, and you're trying to put this and this and this together. And because I was doing it for her and not for me, I didn't want to settle on things. And so once again, I think like what I've explained in the past before, when I do a commission for somebody, I keep them in the loop the whole time. I don't say, okay, I'll do it, and then 2 weeks later say, here, it's done, pay me, because first of all, now I get paid first. But then second of all, I will always, throughout the whole period from the first rough draft to the finished product, I let them see, let them critique it, and tell me what they like about it or what they don't like or what changes I need to do on it. And Cindy did. The same way with Ryan when I did the stuff for his show Geek at Birth with Dave Adams. And I kept him in the loop about everything. I was seeing Ryan with glasses on everything. So when my first picture of Ryan that I drew the spectacles on him, because that's every picture he was sending me. He goes, yeah, he goes, but when I do my shows, I normally don't wear my glasses. Okay.
That's the kind of thing you need to know ahead of time.
You need to send me pictures without your glasses. But we took care of it, and it turned out good. But no, and then Matt Ostrom did some other artwork for Cindy Cap for one of her kind of bird-like flying machines, which I thought was really good, kind of almost reminiscent of, I can't remember the name of it, the one from the He-Man cartoon. They had one that looked similar that, you can tell how much of a He-Man fan I am because I don't remember the name of it. But anyway, Matt did a great job, and she's got another artist that did her Animal Eye comic book, which is an adaptation of her book Animal Eye. And his name doesn't come to mind at the moment either, so I'll borrow your saying by saying I'm having a senior moment. But So
I don't have it trademarked.
right.
You don't have to pay me.
I just hate talking about somebody and thinking, oh, now what's their name again?
Yeah, well,
But his was more of a anime style art,
yeah,
which I've never done any artwork like that before. And but
he
definitely liked
he's
his.
the illustrator for the comic book itself, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that makes
And
it would be more anime style.
one of my drawers over here, I do have that comic book, and I even got her coffee mug that I got when I supported her Kickstarter when they were doing that first one. So I can't wait for them to have. I'm thinking she said they were going to do issue 2
Yep.
in the near future.
And then I believe it's going to go to 3 issues. I'm not sure if the whole story gets told in 2. I think he goes to 3 issues to tell.
Yeah,
Sure, might go a little further. Now I am checking the mailbox every day for Ted's Grim 101 book 2,
mm-hmm.
which should be shipping sometime soon. And then it has a part 3 as well, which has not gone to the not GoFundMe, Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
He does Kickstarter for those. Now, this thing is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I went so far as to, when I contributed, I got enough to get a 8.5 by 11 of the cover illustration
Mm-hmm.
for
I loved the first one.
In book 2. Oh yeah, I mean, Lindsay insisted that we get a frame for it and put it on the wall. It was that beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we don't have room on the wall for anything else, we're having stuff around. But
now I noticed something that you did, or I don't know if you did it yesterday, but I just noticed it yesterday that you and Carl Witzman were the first 2 book reviewers for Keisha Acuff's book, Him.
Well, I'm not a bit surprised. I told Keisha that I would write a review as soon as I finished reading it, and it took several days because my only time I've got to read is while I'm on break at work. So, an hour, maybe an hour and a half a day at most. And was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, I finished the book, and then that night I went on and left a review of. It's a very good first book. And I'm very aware of how much that Keisha and Michaela worked together on the editing to make it come out the way that Keisha wanted it.
Right.
And, it's not my usual genre. It is a suspense novel. It is bordering on well, it's somewhere in between true crime and a very, very well done mystery, but it is suspense, and it's not the sort of thing that I usually read. But it was very, very well done, and
I agree.
I felt that I needed to say so. And first book, new author. Reviews mean a lot, and reviews mean a lot to any author at any stage in their career. Let me tell you. But just starting out, a good review will keep you from dropping being a writer, and a bad review will make you want to drop it, and your friends are going to try and talk you out of it because bad reviews are not worth the paper that they are, or the electrons they're written with sometimes.
Well, I had a problem with it, and not Keisha's book, but I finished the book last weekend. I think it was Sunday night or Monday night. Well, anyway, and I thought, great, okay. And I wanted to think about what I was going to write for a review. So I didn't kind of, jump at trying to leave a review on Monday. And then Tuesday was total busy day with the Chicago trip, because that's busy from early in the morning till late at night. And Wednesday, I thought, okay, I know what I want to do. And I saw Keisha post saying, I have reviews. And I said, hey, Keisha, post a link in here for those of us who've read the book to leave you a review. And she did. I went to get in there. I couldn't get into Amazon account. And when I was trying to log in, it asked for my email, which I put that in there, and it recognized it. And then it said password. I'm like, oh, I don't remember what I had for the password. And I'm one of these people that I have the same password for many, many things. And I know you're not supposed to, but, well, I never follow the rules anyway, but why not start now? And I thought, oh, maybe it's got to be the same password that I do a few things else. Did not recognize that. Okay, I remember a couple of my older passwords. So I put those in, didn't do it. Now I'm locked out because of that, because I've exhausted my options. It said to call them. I called them. I talked to this gentleman who said, I'm going to send you a thing of what you need to do. Mm-hmm. And I said, you can't help me from where you're at to get back into my account? He said, no, we can't do it on the phone. I have to send it to you by email, and that's for your security. I said, okay, I get it,
Mm-hmm. But it's only good for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I went through all the, whatever it was, OPD, OPT codes, whatever that they sent me. And, but went back to the password again. And then that's when I got locked out, was the final time on there. So now I'm having to wait again. I don't know if it's 48 hours or what it is.
Usually it's 24, but
24. Well, maybe I might try it tomorrow.
I don't know for sure what Amazon system when they lock you out for too many password tries. I don't know if it is 24 or 48, but most places it's 24.
All of my Amazon purchases, because I'm not a member of Amazon Prime, but Laura is. So she'll say, get on the website, find it, send me a screenshot, I'll buy it, you can pay me back. Sometimes she'll buy it and she doesn't want me to pay her back, such as the stuff with the Belkin mouse rest and keyboard rest and stuff. But anyway, so that's about my limits with Amazon. And that I'm not against using it or anything, but I'm against not being able to get in.
I have a 2-page long file of passwords that I keep updated. Every time something has to change, every time they redo their system, so I've got to have a more complicated password, something that has an uppercase letter, a number, a feather of a phoenix, a drop of unicorn blood, and a gang sign, and something from H.P. Lovecraft. And I'm going, look, how many people try and pay my electric bill, and why aren't you letting them if somebody is trying to pay?
Yeah, really. Here's my passwords. Go for it. No, and my passwords are typically I don't have a problem with them being long enough or enough uppercase, lowercase, numerals, whatever. That part of it's fine. But when I was talking to the Amazon gentleman from, I don't know what country he was from, but anyway, he was trying to be helpful, but he could only be so helpful. And he told me to create a new Amazon account. And he said, but when you do this, he goes, you cannot create a new account on the phone. They won't allow it. It has to be from your computer. I said, okay, well, I have a tablet and I'll do it on that. And that's, of course, when I got the held up with all the codes, and I'd put the code in, and then they're back to, they'd accept the code, and then they're back to asking for the password. I'm like, this is all because I forgot the original one.
Lindsay has a large notebook with all of her stuff handwritten. My computer file with all the stuff typed out is just a different notebook, basically. Same thing. Now I've got some that are just simple as all get out, and nobody's ever asked me to change them in 30 years. And then I've got some where every 2 years I go, this ain't complicated enough. And then I've got something like at work, every 120 days I have to change my login password for the computer. And I'm going, I used the same one for 25 years and you didn't have a problem. Now I've got a company email address. I have to change the password every 4 months. And they're going, yeah. And you do realize that most people using this system have something like Georgia Bulldogs #1. And 4 months later, it's Georgia Bulldogs #2. And it just keeps right on going just like that. They go, yeah, we don't like that, but it's legal. And I'm going, okay, here's some freaking nonsense that nobody will ever be able to figure out. And I wrote it down. And
Be glad you don't have to change it every month like we had to when I was working in space program.
Well, yeah, but that's higher security. I mean, this is. Does anybody really care how you make fiberglass? I mean, everybody that does it already knows how. It's not like there's a big secret to melting sand.
When my neighbor said that I could use his Wi-Fi for the shows and my tablet and everything, he gave me the password for the guest Wi-Fi, and I looked at it and I started laughing because, and of course I'm not going to say what it is, but it looked like his 7-year-old kids doing math problems. Mm-hmm. It was that simplistic. And I said, aren't you ever worried that this is too simple of a password that somebody else could figure it out probably in about 20 seconds? And he says, I don't care. He says, they're not close enough. And he says, the ones that are close enough, he goes, I trust.
Lindsay's boy, who is a programmer and quite a very good one. He was working at, I think it's Lawrence Livermore. He swears by an online password generator called LeetSpeak. And you just type in an ordinary thing and it turns it into this gibberish that if you understand the principle behind it, it's as comprehensible as plain, ordinary, everyday English. But it's got all kinds of weird numbers and letters and symbols and things that, once you understand the principle behind it, you could use your name for a password and it would still have every possible combination that anybody would ask for in a password.
Like what the Russian bots post in the live chat.
Oh, it's more complicated than that. Much more complicated than that. I mean, in those things, they try and make them look like a link to something. But it's a very, very abbreviated link. And once you've seen 2 or 3 of them, as soon as you see a 4th one or a 5th one or, whatever iteration of it, they all look just exactly alike in the way that they're made. They won't have the same letters in them. It'll have the same pattern. And you learn that pattern, you'll never be fooled by one of them again. Until the next generation of Russian bots come out with the better programming. I have a couple of friends online that are just absolutely vehement about people answering these trivia questions online and going, don't you realize that data miners are going through this stuff and they're getting all your security question answers to recover your lost passwords? I'm going, that's why I don't answer any of these things. I just scroll past and go, no, not today. Not today, Satan. Just not dealing with this.
I used to respond that way.
Lie on those things, and still, some people are very consistent in the way they lie on these things. So.
Guys, Steph is starting to fade fast here.
Well, we're boring, so.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that Steph had a really busy physical day today.
You need some Mexican Coke.
I think she needs some sleep.
You don't want to know what the caffeine would do to me, babe.
Oh.
Yeah. Aside from
if you don't use it, keep yourself awake with the caffeine and the Coke, you can pour it on your husband's terminal battery posts and clean them off real good. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Coke works quite well for that.
It supposedly it'll clean the plastic lenses on the headlights too, but
I need to try that.
They're a little bit scarred up. I think I'm just going to order new plastic lenses.
Probably best, yeah.
That's a whole lot simpler. I mean, it only takes 5 minutes to remove those things and put all the lights in it, put all the wiring in a new one.
I tried using that stuff that Turtle Wax come out with, and it's got about 3 or 4 different compounds that you use, and the sprays, and then all the different sandpapers. And
it's easier to summon Cthulhu than to do this stuff.
I like to keeled over to do my driver's side headlight, and then I noticed the passenger side was dim, and went to go clean it, and it's still not quite as bright. Maybe now, since I got the new bulb in it, but.
Well, Bill, those things did work because they got your money.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same principle behind all the pretty lures and fishing tackle. It may not catch a fish, but it caught you.
Point.
Oh, well, good night, Stephanie.
Yep.
Good night, guys.
Glad to have you on there.
Hopefully see you Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't know. All things could, well, Saturday we're supposed to get like pouring down rain. So I might
It might be a good night to sleep.
Well, it might be a good night to be able to do this, because I will have just done editing and stuff around the house during the day. It won't be nearly as physical. So.
We're getting that rain tomorrow morning here.
Ah, okay.
It's moving south. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked at the radar in 2 days. I keep looking at the temperature and trying to decide when to drip the tap. It says, oh, 48 degrees. I wake up the next morning, go out, there's frost on my car. They lied.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking like we might that the rain into Saturday night might end up as some form of frozen precip. So
Yeah.
I had the air conditioner on today.
Oh, I had to wear my insulated coveralls to go to work this morning. By the time I left at 2:30, I wanted to take them off just so I could drive home.
Now, isn't that crazy over in California where the Super Bowl is going to be this weekend? They got 90-degree weather over there. They got heat advisories right now.
Huh.
That's fine. I like where I'm at. It's either too damn hot or too damn cold. There's no in between.
Just as long as we don't have any falling iguanas or chameleons or anything falling out of the trees.
No, I don't. I don't think we need to worry about iguanas here. The coyotes would eat them.
Yeah.
The coyotes can probably climb trees better than the iguanas.
Well, this past year it was the cicadas with us.
Oh, we didn't ever really have any. Usually we have just tons and tons, but when we were supposed to have a bumper crop of cicadas, none.
We did. We must have got your bumper crop.
I'm thinking the geese and swans across the street got them all with some barbecue sauce.
You think they would have done that up here too, but man, they were all over the place. And you would,
yes, Stephanie,
driving your vehicle and you're seeing them flying, and then you're using your windshield wiper blades just to pop them off of your windshield. It was nuts. And now, instead of the 7 years or whatever it is that it was supposed to be, now they were saying for this next time it was only going to be like 3 or 4 years before they come back. Kind of a rare, we're going to be back a little sooner than normal.
Yeah, like the income tax.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that reminds me, I've got to make an appointment to get my taxes done. I think we've got all the paperwork mailed to us now. Oh, that means I got to take another day off from work. Well, no, I can get, because of the present unpleasantness, we're allowed to just drive there and drop off the paperwork and come back within a week or two and sign.
That's what they're doing up here, yeah.
Need to do that because I've got the stuff sitting right here ready to go, and there's really no use putting it off. It's not going to, the tax return's not going to get larger if I wait longer. It's not like I have to wait for it to get right.
Laura's dad was supposed to get his return back. Good night, Steph. But he was supposed to get his return back a week or two ago, and because they had his old address up in Chicago, and everything was getting forwarded here, for the first time, they did not want to direct deposit it. He has banks up there and down here both. And they said, well, they're going to send it, cut a check and send it in the mail. He's yet to see it. So now Laura has to make an appointment with the IRS to find out where Dad's check is.
It's probably in a post office in Walla Walla, Washington. Who knows?
Never know.
I used to be dead set against all this direct deposit stuff, and now that I'm used to it, I don't want it any other way.
Same here.
You know where my bank is. You know the routing number. Just put the money in there, and I will be very thankful.
Yeah, and that's, the same with me. It's like using the PayPal when I'm doing commissions and stuff, or like the warm-up sketch that Nita Lanning bought last week. She puts the money in PayPal. I see it right away. I transfer it over into my bank. Now, I could set it up to where it directly transfers it over into the bank automatically.
Yeah.
But I kind of like to see it in there first or whatever. And then I've been told, yeah, it actually helps you out a little bit. But anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the convenience factor of it all is something that I don't want to let go of now that I have it.
I know. The annoying thing about PayPal now is they keep trying to get me to take out a PayPal credit card, which I don't need. And
yeah, they ask that all the time. So does eBay or somebody else says that to me.
In order to get paid by Bandcamp, I had to go to a small business PayPal account rather than just a normal personal PayPal account. And now PayPal wants me to take out a business loan, and I'm going, excuse me, I just paid off my credit cards. The house is paid for. The cars are paid for. I don't want a loan for anything.
Yeah. I just ignore that. That stuff's just spam.
I ignore it constantly, but I still have to see it and delete it when I really don't need to even see it.
Yeah.
But
well,
they've already sent me like 2 physical credit cards expecting me to activate these things, and I've told them not to several times. So I get out the scissors, I cut them into ribbons, I put them in 3 or 4 different trash cans that go to the landfill in different weeks, so that nobody can assemble one of these credit cards without some sort of ungodly magic being able to find the 3 or 4 different trash bags deposited over a month with all the bits and pieces in it.
When I worked at Lowe's Home Improvement, there was a time where the person in trying to think of which department it was, that they were in charge of shredding up certain documents that were extinct, that were no longer needed. And so she had all these boxes of documents. Well, it ruined her paper shredder, and she couldn't shred it. And so found out that if you put all these documents in a garbage bag in a trash can and then fill it up about 1/3 of the way with paint thinner, that does a whole lot better than shredding when there's nothing left on the paper. I mean, that paper comes out bleached.
Yep.
There's nothing on it.
I'm going to have to run to the restroom. I'll be right back. Chris is still talking to us in the chat. So
yeah, I've seen that. And Chris, yes, I did forget that was Kirk Douglas. That was Spartacus. But
that dimple chin, never going to see the like of that man again. I'll tell you, that's a damn fine actor there.
Yep. Yeah, Kirk Douglas was. He was in a lot of wonderful things, and of course, so was his son Mike as well. But anyway, no, Chris, we just get used to a lot of things now that weren't the norm 20, 30 years ago. And some of it, I'd like to say, well, walking around with cell phone attached to me like an appendage, there's a lot of times where I just want to turn it off and walk away from it, but because I have some responsibilities now for other people, that if they need to get a hold of me and I need to have that near me, or even, well, as long as I keep the phone on. I don't have to have the phone with me all the time, because I have the smartwatch that will ring, and I can answer my phone on my smartwatch like Dick Tracy. And there's something else I never thought that I would ever have in my lifetime, the ability for something like that to happen. But I do have some responsibilities where I got to keep the phone on at the very least, and that, so I do it for that. But there are other times where I could be away from it, because I grew up without it, other than a landline phone. And but having said that, there are other things, and once again, it's the convenience factor, like what we were just talking about with PayPal and all that, and some other things that I don't necessarily want to walk away from. I actually embrace the technology, and this being one of them, doing the shows with you guys, and you know, it's a great way to pass the time. It's a great way to communicate with a lot of people and meet a lot of people, and you know, like-minded subjects to talk about every week, and you know, it's wonderful. So that part of the technology I embrace, and I probably continue to do so.
I was just thinking the other day, if it hadn't been for Joe Dog wanting to build a time during lockdown and start up Stupid O'Clock, I would never have met you. I would never have met Carl and Donna. I would never have met Michaela. I would never have met Brian. I would never have met Keisha, and all the people that Grant, all the people that show up in the green room, and all the people that show up on our shows. I might not have ever gone to Hallowcon. I would never have met Chris. You know, and out of this major disaster, a lot of really good things have accidentally happened. Being able to widen my circle of online friends and interact with them in real time over streaming services like this. This definitely kicks what was it? What's the damn thing I used to use? I can't even remember the name of it anymore. I don't use it anymore. But it was
MySpace.
Oh Lord, no! I've never used it.
I've never. Thank God I didn't come around when MySpace was still around. I
had a MySpace account, and believe me, it was so that I could stay in touch with my kids, and when they were a bit younger, and then Skype. That's what it was.
Oh, Skype, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And,
well, I was going to say Zoom, but about the same thing.
No, Zoom was much later. Yeah. Skype, it was a nice thing. It imitated IRC chat rooms, and it had video chat as well as an online alternative to telephone. So. You know, it's still very nice. It's still very nice. There are other things that do that now. I mean, you can make phone calls through Facebook Messenger.
Yep.
You can make video calls through Facebook Messenger, or you could text through Facebook. It's basically the same thing. It's just a different platform.
Yeah. When Greg Kisla called me a week or two ago, he did I I heard my phone ringing, which I knew it was the Facebook Messenger phone ring. I recognized that, but then when I picked it up, I realized, oh, it's a video call. And I had never done the video call before. It was always audio, like when I called you, just audio through Facebook Messenger. And so,
and actually, I took that on my telephone.
yeah, you know,
I didn't even think to click on it with my computer. My phone rang. So,
but yeah, it works good. And I'll say I'm a latecomer to all of this because I didn't have computers in the 80s and 90s and so on and so forth. My first computer, which was the previous tablet, actually, my first computer was the first generation Motorola Droid that I got used from my sister-in-law, who had it for a year and a half. And when she bought it, the Droid 2 was getting ready to come out, and she wanted to get the Droid 2, but my brother said, no, you're not going to get that. Well, you have the other one. So it's like, hey, your brother needs to get in on this technology. And so they sold me on it. And then, but yeah, and then of course, as soon as I got that shit, well, you need to get on Facebook now. Facebook. Nah, I'll never get on there. And lo and behold, I got on there in 2009 or 2010, whatever it was. I forget. I think 2009. And that's how I got to meet everybody. I think as far as this group, I think Brian's show was the first ones I ever started watching and participating in live chat. And then when he was coming over to do stuff with the book club in Danville or something like that, I would come over and join in with them. I think they made me an honorary member of it was a writers club was what it was. And I'm like, well, I'm not a writer. You know, come on anyway. And I met some nice people because of that. And the thing about it is that I'm not a convention goer. Not to say I wouldn't like to go to one or whatever. I'd love to have gone to Chicago's Comic-Con or one of the big ones and that, and like to go to some small ones or whatever, but I either never had the money or the time or both, you know. Yeah. And so it never happened. And that, so meeting you and Joe Dog and John and Lewis and Skunk and everybody else, you know, Chris, all them, it's because of these shows. And that, oh, well, I can match a face with a name now. And, you know, to me, that's good. It's a lot cheaper. You know, and that's not to say that I won't be going to a convention, and that I would like to put that on, you know, my list of things to do or bucket list or whatever. But until then, it's good to have these shows, and that we could either, well, no matter how we participate in it, you know, just the fact that we are, and that, and
yeah. Oh, let's see. I'm looking this up here now. Oh Lord, was it that early? I
didn't vamp long enough.
1985? No, 86 through 1991. My first computer was a TRS-80 Color Computer 3.
Okay.
which took little cartridges in the side for different programs. If you wanted to use a different program, you had to unplug the turn the computer off, unplug the cartridge, put a new cartridge in the side, turn the computer back on. A few years later, they came out with a 5 1/4 floppy disk drive that you could plug up.
Mm-hmm.
But this thing, I mean, I had the computer, I had the disk drive, I had a daisy wheel printer that went with it. I wrote the first draft of my first attempt at a novel on this TRS 80, just a regular trash 80. And then all of a sudden, personal computers were invented, and I had a Radio Shack model. So 386 was my first real computer, and it had a whopping huge 20 megabyte hard drive, which I had loaded with programs because everything had to be really, really tiny in those days. All the programs had to be really small. And
yeah, see, that's something I don't miss. I don't, when people tell their horror stories about dial-up and all that, I'm like, I'm glad I waited it out. I really am.
I mean, a friend of mine had to talk me into getting a modem and going online because I was deathly afraid of computer viruses. I thought they were a whole lot worse than what they turned out to be. And then I had, I went from the 386 to a Pentium. I skipped the 486. And with the Pentium, I got online and was playing Doom with my friend that taught me on to getting online, so we could, from across city limits, 30 miles away from each other, we could be in the same computer game, either together or against each other, and discovered all kind of things. They gave me a list of websites to go and look at, and I got into the Casebook Jack the Ripper website, and because I had this great big old flatbed scanner, I helped out with the illustrations for that website, scanning stuff from books and resizing it and doing a little bit of graphics to manipulate the lighten up the exposure on some of the old photographs from the 1880s. No big deal. And then all of that led to another computer and another computer and another computer. And here I sit today with about 6 or 8 of them around me right now. And some of which I built myself. I'm never doing that again. And it used to be simple. Now it's a whole lot more complicated. Once you get everything put together, you've still got to figure out codes to get everything to work. I'm going, I liked it when it was just changing light bulb days. Okay. No, that doesn't work anymore, because I can go down to Office Depot or Office Max or something and say, what you got on sale, and get something that's reasonably recently obsolete, and that's perfectly functional. Or I can go online and buy something from one of the discount websites, like I did the computer I'm on right now, the streaming computer. That was very painless. Bring it home, plug it up, turn it on, establish a password to get into it. Boom, there I am. All my other accounts and everything are already there. All I got to do is identify myself to my online accounts, and hey, I've got everything.
I got to thinking about my first video game that I ever got, which of course was the Atari 2600, and we got it for Christmas in 1979.
Let's see. Pong, Breakout, and Breakaway.
Yeah. And I remember playing those years before that because our neighbors who were much richer than we were had all those down in their basement. They had all those on the game. They had a full size pinball machine and a pool table. Yeah. And their dad had a reel-to-reel stereo tape player. They did quite well. But as far as the first ones we ever had were not until 1979. Then I got to thinking, maybe I did have a computer prior to my first Motorola Droid, because in the mid 80s, we purchased a Atari 600, I think it was. Now,
I'm not sure. Was that the one with Duck Hunt?
I would tell you that Atari 600 was supposed to be like a regular computer that was supposed to be contenders with ColecoVision and Intellivision or whatever else. And it had a keyboard on it that you could use it like a computer. It came with the states and capitals educational games. There was 2 or 3 games in there, but they were all educational games because they wanted to make this computer. They wanted it to be a computer and not a
game.
Just
station.
not a video. Yeah, not a video game player, or solely that. Now, at the same time, you could take. And I don't know if you could take, I'm thinking you could take some of the 2600 cartridges and play them on that. And that's been a long time ago and I don't remember everything, but I believe it was called an Atari 600.
Chris says he remembers the 400 and 800, but not the 600. Yeah. Well.
And it might have been one of them too, Chris. I'd have to look.
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
I know that it was pretty much a joke around our house. I played some of the educational games, and then when I tried to do some other stuff with it, I was lost because, for one, I just didn't really... I just didn't have the knowledge of it and that. And my ex-father-in-law used to teach beginners introduction to home computers in our area community college over in Danville. And he gave one for our girls to use and it was, and I don't even remember what kind of computer that was. I'm wanting to say it was something by Apple because that's kind of the route he went on a lot of stuff, but both of the girls ignored it.
Well, that happens when Bill froze up. Okay, well, I believe that the first iteration of Aphelion was on that Pentium. I don't think that I established it on the 386, but I could have. I'm not sure. All I know is Aphelion came out in 1997, January 27th of 1997. So I had an online capable computer in at least 1995. So, yeah, really, because I remember when Windows 95 came out. So it must have been, I must have had 2 or 3 computers by that time.
It was an Atari 400.
Okay.
So you can basically see they were there, and of course you would use your TV for the monitor.
Yep.
But they were trying to go a route that would make them competitors with Apple and everybody else.
Yep. You're exactly right, Chris. The 586. Like I said, I had the TRS-80 Coco 3, and then I bought a 386 with the insurance money from the drunk driver running a red light in front of my motorcycle. That's what I had left over after I had the motorcycle rebuilt, was enough to buy a Radio Shack 386. I skipped the 486 and went to the 586 when they first came out. I had that one custom built for me by a shop. I had the factory paid for me to go to computer classes and learn how to use Windows 3.1 and Windows 3.11 and DOS. And I had to pass classes on this stuff, and then they didn't even have an internal hard drive. You had to plug different floppy disks in to make a program run. It might have 2 or 3 different floppy disks the program was on. So you'd start it off on one, you get so far, and then it would tell you to change disks, and you pop another one in, and you get so far, and you tell you to change disks, and you pop. This is not installing something on the computer. This was running off of the floppy drive. So this was really for me back in the day. And basically, you know, I got computer accredited at my workplace for learning stuff that was already obsolete by the time I took the lessons.
Here's a gutted Atari 400.
It looks just like any other motherboard, let me tell you.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
They all
and the place for the cartridge.
They all look the same once you tear them down, get them out of the box.
They're probably all made by the same company, too.
Oh, no, they're made by a dozen different companies. That's how come it's so hard finding parts for one that would work on a different one.
Well, my dad, being a ham radio operator for 50 some odd years, he would be the first one to tell you. I would beg and plead to let him. I would want the latest Pioneer stereo with whatever type of speakers that was popular at the time, and this is pre-Bose.
I bet him and Carl would have been able to have some fascinating conversations if they'd ever have been able to get together.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to.
Well, Dad taught me how to make my first dipo antenna, and he wanted me to be a ham radio operator back in the 70s, and I could not get the Morse code down pat. I was frustrated immensely with it.
Thankfully, by the time
he hated CB.
Yep, that was my first. Thankfully, by the time I was interested in any kind of radio that was not AM or FM, it was CB. And Bob McCall's song had hit the airwaves, and everybody bought CB radios.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's about the same time when mine and my brother's interest rose in it. And that got on my dad's nerves because CB radio was like trailer trash of technology back then. And, of course, a lot of the people that were talking on it, it would probably back up what my dad would say, but then there were plenty of other people that were good people. And eventually he said, okay, I will allow you to talk on Citizen Band Radio, but he said you're going to have to get a license to talk on it. But during the mid 70s, you still had to have a license. So
yep, I had to have a license for mine. I think I had my CB for about 2 years before they dropped the license requirement. There were just too many people applying for amateur radio operator licenses for CBs. And the federal government went, we're not doing all this paperwork. Handle it yourselves. Just buy one and talk. We don't care.
I still remember my call signs, KAVF 5171. That's something's sticking in my head the rest of my life.
KGJG 7660.
And my dad's ham.
Really weird, but
my dad's ham radio, call sign K9FKC. And somewhere I still got a badge that went on his. He was the president of their local ham radio club for Vermain County, helped set up ham radio shack. It was a big A-frame building that they built out, actually not that far north of where I am now in Oakwood, because it's right over at Kickapoo State Park, right outside of the park, actually in a high elevated area to where they could put their tower up. And yeah, he had a Drake TR7, the old tube style ham radios that had separate had the transceiver, but the power supply that it would connect to, you had two different separate pieces. So, and then he had a Heathkit Warrior kilowatt linear amplifier that he would use when they would do their late Saturday night roundtable, him and about 15 or 20 other of his ham radio buddies from all over the world. And they'd talk a lot of skip, and then sometimes they would just kind of stay within the parameters of 9mm, and just listening to him talk on there, and then occasionally allowing us to talk to his ham radio friends when we were little kids, what got me in radio. And I wanted to get into ham radio, and I wanted to learn the Morse code, but I just, at that point, I didn't have the patience for it then that I would have had now. So, and now that they're so different to look at a ham radio now. It's amazing.
And nowadays, for what back in the day you could get into ham radio, nowadays you can buy the stuff to take an old 9-foot wire mesh satellite dish antenna and turn it into a freaking radio telescope.
Yeah. It's unreal.
I have often thought, if I had got 3 or 4 of those things and spread them across the entire breadth of my family's farm, I could have a radio telescope that's about 80 acres wide. So,
yeah.
Oh, that would have been fun. That would have been fun. But then again, what am I going to do with a radio telescope?
Right.
Listen to Jupiter howl, in during the storm season or whatever.
Well, my dad had a lot of fun, ham radio, and a lot of people. We went to ham fest left and right, and But when it came time to be serious about it, when there was a weather event, like you were just saying, or something of the nature that they needed to get on and relay information because of power being out or lines being down, such that they were there. They were, they were kind of like the 1960s and 70s version of the Minutemen or something, that they were Johnny on the spot and ready to do what they were, born to do with ham radio, and not just talk about the latest rig and how to, whatever set of beams or whatever, something Ringo Ranger beams or whatever, but and I know we're getting short on time here, but
we got 2.5 minutes. So,
yeah, I've been keeping an eye.
I've been glancing at it from time to time myself. My alarm clock goes off at 6, and it's already almost 2. So,
yeah. And I have a lot to do tomorrow before the auction, and then we'll get into the green room whenever I get back. And
all right, well,
do
have a safe trip. That's the most.
Yeah, it's going to be the auction. Well, they canceled it last Friday because of our weather event that we had the 2 previous days, and so it's on for this Friday because we're just going to have rain. Saturday we might have a kind of a snow mix during Saturday or Sunday, but Friday night it's going to be a non-issue, so we should be fine.
Well, that's
on
good.
That.
That's good. I wish we could have a couple of weeks without any rain whatsoever, so that my yard could dry out and my septic tank could start to drain again, because I'm tired of the blasted thing not being waterlogged and not being able to drain out, and we can't even flush the toilet.
Yeah, we're supposed to get in the mid-50s toward the end of next week, and hopefully that'll melt off the rest of the snow. Melted a lot of the snow already, snow piles and that. And our trip to Chicago on Tuesday, we were shoveling a lot, and needless to say, used the CBD cream on my back, on my neck, on my knees.
I do the same thing with the little Salon Pass bandages. When you slap them on where it hurts. Those things are wonderful. Yeah. Well, we've got 15. We got about 10 seconds. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, everybody that watched. Thank you, Chris, for watching us all this way. It's now 1 a.m. So say goodnight, Gracie.
Vaya con Dios, amigos.
We'll see you in the green room tomorrow night, and hopefully Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing on Saturday.
Yep.
Y'all come back now. You hear?
Here.